We're going to talk about remote viewing today in a way that is very simple, grounded, and easy to understand, because I think this is one of those topics that gets either overcomplicated or made to sound completely ridiculous. And honestly, a lot of people hear the words remote viewings and immediately think of some kind of psychic spying. And I just want to say right away, that is not how I personally approach this at all. To me, remote viewing is not about spying on people. It's not about trying to psychically invade someone's privacy or secretly peek into someone's life. That version of it has been way too sensationalized. The way I see it is remote viewing is about learning how to notice subtle information. It's about strengthening perception. It's about learning how to observe what comes through before your logical mind rushes in and tries to explain everything. So if you've been curious about remote viewing, but you want to understand it in a way that actually makes sense, this video is for you. At its core, remote viewing is the practice of trying to perceive information about a person, place, object, or a target that you are not physically looking at. That's it. And one of the biggest misconceptions around this is that people think it's supposed to feel like some huge, dramatic, psychic movie in your head. Honestly, that is usually not how it works at all. Most of the time, it is more subtle. It often comes through as a color, shape, temperature, texture. Is there a sense of movement, or even just an overall mood? Even just a quick inner knowing. So the real skill here is not forcing some kind of giant vision. The real skill is learning how to notice small impressions before your mind starts trying to control the experience. That's where the practice really begins. The biggest mistakes that people make when they start practicing remote viewing is trying to guess too quickly. So for example, maybe you sense wet, bright, open, reflective, and then your brain goes, it's a beach. That right there is where things start to get messy, because what you originally received may have been clean, but the second your mind starts to take over, it turns it into a whole story. Now you're mixing perception with assumption. So one of the best things that you can do when you practice is to separate raw data from interpretation. So instead of writing beach, you would write wet, bright, open, reflective, horizontal, breezy. That is actually better remote viewing, because you are staying honest with what you truly perceived. And that one shift alone can help your practice tremendously. A lot of people also ask if they should close their eyes when they do this. The answer, sure, absolutely. If you absolutely can close your eyes. For a lot of beginners, it could actually help, because when your eyes are closed, it's easier to reduce the outer visual noise and notice more subtle inner impressions. Okay, so it's easier to kind of, in those few seconds, keep your eyes closed, because at that moment when you're first practicing, there's a lot of visual noise and you're unable to sort of push it out. Personally, this sort of rhythm I find works the best. Close your eyes, receive, open your eyes, and write. That works really well. So you might close your eyes for 5 to 10 seconds. Notice what comes through, open your eyes, write it down, and then repeat. That's a really clean way to practice, because if you sit there for too long trying to force something dramatic to happen, your imagination is going to start to take over. Your mind is going to come in, imagination takes over, and that is where things get muddy. Simple is best. When you're practicing, you do not need to receive a perfect, highly detailed visual image. And honestly, a lot of the time, you're not going to. So instead of trying to see the whole target, focus on simple categories. Ask yourself things like, what colors are here? Blue, white, green, yellow, dark, light. What shapes or structures are here? Tall, round, pointy, wide, narrow, layered, curved. What textures or materials are here? Smooth, rough, stone-like, soft, watery, wooden, metallic. What environment does this feel like? Does it feel indoors, outdoors, natural, man-made, warm, cold, dry, wet, dim, bright? Is there movement, stillness? Is it flowing, spinning, rising, pulsing, windy? And sometimes it can even help to ask, what overall tone does this carry? Is it peaceful, playful, lonely, intense, sacred? These kinds of simple questions make it much easier to notice what's actually coming through. How to know if it is real or your imagination is probably one of the biggest questions that people have. And the easiest way I can explain it is real signal often feels quick, quiet, simple, neutral, and oftentimes a little random, okay? Imagination usually feels more effortful, more dramatic, for sure, more story-based, and like you are actively building it in your mind. So a really good rule to remember is if it arrives instantly, write it down. If you had to build it, then question it. That doesn't mean that every quick thing is automatically perfect, but it's a really helpful filter when you're learning, because intuition often whispers. Intuition is soft. It is quiet. The mind and the ego are loud, and they usually start narrating. Another question is, what if I don't see anything? That's also really important because not everyone receives visually first. Some people do, but a lot of people actually receive better through body sensations, temperature, texture, emotions, atmosphere, or just claircognizance, just knowing. So if you close your eyes and think, I'm not seeing anything, but you feel cold, watery, open, windy, bright, that still counts. Okay, this is still valid information. You do not need a full visual picture for this to be real or useful. Some of the strongest intuitive information comes through in very subtle ways. If you want to start practicing this in a simple way, one of the best things you can do is use blind targets. That just means you practice with something that you haven't seen yet. So for example, it could be a random photo, a hidden object, a location, or something chosen for you that you don't know in advance. Then when you sit down to practice, keep it simple. Write the target number, close your eyes for a few seconds, notice what comes through. Write the raw impressions down, and if you want to, do a quick sketch as well. You don't have to, but sometimes it helps. Then compare your notes to the actual target afterwards. That's where a lot of your learning happens. And when you compare, don't only look for exact hits, look for where you were descriptively correct, energetically or symbolically correct. That matters a lot more than people realize. So if you're just beginning with remote viewing, the biggest thing I want you to remember is this. Your subtle perception is probably already working. You likely do not need to force anything open. You mostly just need to learn how to slow down, notice, record, and compare honestly. That is really it. And the more you practice that, the stronger your discernment becomes, not because you're trying to become dramatic or psychic enough, but because you're becoming a better observer. I think that's where the real value is. And when I talk about targets, you can grab yourself a sheet of paper, split it up into, 10 pieces. You can even write something simple on each piece of paper. Start out with a list of simple objects or places. Just write stuff like Ferris wheel, tree, snowy mountaintop, clock, things like that, car. Then you're going to fold the piece of paper up so you can't see what it is. Put it in a little dish, a little bowl, mix it around, grab a piece, don't open that, push the other away, place your target in front of you, and then begin. Don't make it complicated. If this helped you, let me know. And if you want, I can also make a part 2 where I go deeper into signal versus overlay and strengthening your intuitive accuracy and how to actually practice remote viewing more effectively.